Today, we're talking about mold. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're either thinking, okay, great, one more thing I have to worry about, or you're thinking, finally, somebody's talking about mold. This is the answer. This is why I have migraines. And here's what I need you to know right from the start. Neither of those reactions is quite accurate. Now, we know mold is real, right? Mold exposure can absolutely trigger migraines. It's way more common than people think. But it's also not the end all be all answer that's going to fix everything. And that's why we're talking about it today. Why mold matters, how to tell if it's an issue for you, and simple things that you can do about it, and why complicated mold detox protocols often fail and what you need to do instead. Okay, let's kind of paint a picture here so you have an idea of what's going on. You've been dealing with chronic migraines for years. You've tried the meds, the diets, the supplements, the Botox, the nerve blocks, everything, right? And nothing is working long term. And then one day, you're scrolling on your favorite social media platform and you see a post about mold. Someone saying, I had migraines for 10 years. Turns out it was mold. I got rid of the mold and now I'm migraine free. And something inside you lights up. Finally, an answer. So you go down the rabbit hole, right? You buy the mold test kit, you hire the mold inspector, you find the mold in your bathroom, your basement, and under the sink, and you spend thousands on mediation. You throw out half of your belongings, you move out of your house for weeks while they're doing the mold remediation. You start the mold detox protocol, the binders, the activated charcoal, the glutathione, the sauna sessions. And for a few weeks, maybe you do feel a little bit better. But then the migraine comes back and you think, there's got to be more mold. I didn't get it all. So you test again. You remediate again. You detox even harder. And you're still getting migraines. And now you're worse off than before. You're broke, you're exhausted, and you're more confused than ever. And you're wondering, was it even the mold? Or did I just waste all of that time and money? Now, here's what I want you to understand. We know mold is real, but mold is not the only thing typically that is triggering your migraines. I want to say this again so we can be really clear. Mold exposure is a real issue. Mold produces mycotoxins. These are toxic compounds that can trigger inflammation, immune dysfunction, and yes, migraines. How common is mold? Way more common than you think. Studies estimate that 40 to 50% of homes in the United States have some level of mold. Bathrooms, basements, under sinks, behind washing machines, in HVAC systems, around windows, in the walls after water damage. Most of the time, you can't even see it. So what are the symptoms of mold exposure? Here's where it gets a little bit tricky. Mold symptoms look a lot like other things. You can have the symptoms of headache and migraine, fatigue and brain fog, sinus congestion and postnasal drip, respiratory issues, the coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, maybe skin rashes and itching, joint pain and muscle aches, anxiety and depression, digestive issues, hormonal imbalances. Does all that sound familiar? That's kind of the problem. Mold symptoms overlap with gut issues, hormone imbalance, autoimmune conditions, and chronic inflammation. So when you have mold exposure and gut dysfunction and hormonal imbalances, it's really hard to know what's causing what. Now, can mold trigger migraines? Absolutely. Mold mycotoxins create systemic inflammation. They burden your liver. They dysregulate your immune system. They increase histamine response. All of that can trigger migraines. But here's the critical piece. Mold is usually just one piece of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. And here's what I see all the time. Someone discovers that they have mold exposure. They fixate on it. They think, this is the problem. If I just fix the mold, everything will be fine. So they go all in on the mold remediation and mold detox. And yes, they might feel a little bit better at first, but then the migraines come back. Why? because mold was never the only thing triggering the migraine. Yes, mold was creating inflammation, but so was leaky gut and hormone imbalance and nervous system stuck in fight or flight and the toxic load from years of medications and processed food and environmental toxins. Mold was one fire, but there were 5 other fires burning too. And you can put out the mold fire, but if the other fires are still raging, you are still going to have migraines. All right, so let's talk about mold detox protocols for a second. You've probably seen them. They can be intense. High doses of binders like activated charcoal and clay and all those things, right? Glutathione IVs, sauna sessions, coffee enemas, tons of supplements, strict diets, complicated schedules. And here's what happens. You start the protocol and you feel worse. Headaches get worse, fatigue gets worse, you feel like you have the flu, and your practitioner says, that's just die-off. That's the toxins leaving your body. Just push through it. So you push through, but you don't get better. You just feel worse and worse. The reason is because your liver can't handle the detox load. Your liver is already overwhelmed. It's been dealing with gut inflammation and endotoxins, hormone imbalances, medication issues, environmental toxins, food additives, and preservatives. And now you're asking it to process a flood of mycotoxins being released from your tissues. It cannot keep up. So the toxins recirculate, you feel worse, and the protocol fails. This is why so many people do mold detox protocols and end up sicker than when they started. Not because the protocol's wrong, but because their body wasn't ready for it. So how do you know if mold is part of your migraine picture? So here are some simple ways to assess. Number one, just do a visual inspection. Look for visible mold in common areas. Check your bathroom around the tub, the shower, the toilet, under the sink. Check your basement. Check your laundry room. Look around windows, under sinks, behind appliances. If you see black, green, or white fuzzy spots, that's mold. Number two, you can do the smell test. Mold has that musty, earthy smell. You know what it smells like. If certain rooms or areas in your house smell musty, then there's probably mold. And number three, do you have water damage history? Have you had a roof leak, a pipe leak, flooding, high humidity? If yes, there's a good chance you have mold. And then number four, you can look at symptom patterns. Do your symptoms get worse when you're home, but better when you leave? Are they worse in certain rooms? Are they worse after it rains or during humid weather? If yes, mold may be a factor. Now, you can grab the home test kit, right? You can buy a mold test kit typically online, anywhere between $30 and $100. They are not perfect, but they can give you a general idea if you're not sure. Or you can use a professional inspection, right? Get a professional to come and inspect. If you do suspect that you have significant mold, you are going to want to hire that inspector. They will do the air quality testing and surface testing. And typically that inspection is going to be somewhere between $300 and $800 depending on your area. So if they do find mold, or if you do find mold, then what do? There are some simple practical steps that you can take. Obviously, the first thing, you got to fix the moisture source, right? If you don't fix the source, you will be constantly battling this because mold needs moisture to grow. So fix the leak, improve the ventilation, use dehumidifiers. If you do not fix that moisture, the mold will just keep coming back. Then you're going to work on cleaning the visible mold, right? For small areas, an area maybe less than 10 square feet, you can clean it yourself. Maybe use a mixture of water and white vinegar, a 50-50 solution, or hydrogen peroxide, or Thieves Essential Cleaner, or baking soda paste. Make sure that you wear gloves and a mask, spray the area, let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes, scrub with a brush, wipe clean, and then dry completely. I know a lot of you right now are thinking, well, why not just go directly to bleach? But bleach kills the surface mold, but it doesn't kill the root, and it is toxic. After we clean it, we want to improve that ventilation, right? Run the bathroom fan during and after showers. Open up windows when the weather permits. Use HEPA air purifiers. Keep your humidity in your house below 50%. And make sure that you dispose of porous material. If mold is on any porous material like drywall or carpet or insulation, you can't clean it. You have to remove it and replace it. And if you do have a large mold issue, something that is bigger than 10 square feet, you're going to need to hire a mold remediation company. They have the equipment and the experience to do it safely. Okay, let's try to sum all this up so we make sure that we are on the same page. Number one, yes, if you have a mold issue, address the mold, right? Fix it, clean it, remediate it. But number two, don't stop there because mold is one piece of the inflammation puzzle. You also need to address your gut. If your gut is inflamed and leaky, you are creating systemic inflammation every time you eat. That's triggering a migraine. You need to address your hormones. If your hormones are imbalanced, your pain pathways are dysregulated. That's going to trigger the migraine. You need to address your nervous system. If you are stuck in fight or flight, inflammation stays high. That's triggering migraines. You need to take a look at your toxic load. If your liver is overwhelmed with toxins from food and medication and the environment, it can't detox mold efficiently. That's triggering a migraine. All of these pathways are connected, and you can't just fix one and expect everything else to heal. You have to address them all together. So the mistake I see people make, they find out they have mold exposure, they immediately jump into aggressive mold detox protocols, and they crash. They crash because their liver wasn't ready. Your liver is your body's detox organ. It processes toxins and gets them out of your body. But if your liver is already overwhelmed, it can't handle a flood of toxins. So before you do aggressive mold detox, you need to support your liver. You need to clean up your diet, remove inflammatory foods. You need to reduce your toxic load. Make sure you're using clean products. Make sure your water is clean, your air is clean. You need to support gut health so the endotoxins aren't overwhelming your liver. You need to support phase 1 and phase 2 liver detox pathways with very specific nutrients. And you need to calm your nervous system so that stress hormones aren't burdening your liver. Once your liver is functioning better, then you can detox mold safely. All right, so here is the right sequence to address the mold. Step number 1, get rid of that source, right? Fix the leaks, clean the visible mold, improve the ventilation, and remediate if needed. You can't detox mold if you're still being exposed. Step number 2, support your liver and gut. Remove those inflammatory foods, heal leaky gut, support liver detox pathways, get your body ready to process the toxins. This is phase 1 of the Migraine Freedom Blueprint. Step number 3, gentle mold detox. Start with gentle binders. Activated charcoal is an example. Low dose, slow pace, watch how your body responds. And if you feel terrible, slow down. Your liver isn't ready yet. Step 4, address all other inflammatory pathways. This is phase 2 of the Migraine Freedom Blueprint. Gut, hormone, nervous system, toxic load, autoimmunity. Because remember, mold is just one piece. All right, my friend, here is what I want you to make sure is just so ingrained in you right now. We know mold's real. We know mold can trigger migraines. If you have the mold, fix it. But do not fall into the trap of thinking mold is the answer. Do not spend all your time and money on complicated mold protocols while ignoring your gut, your hormones, your nervous system, and everything else. Mold is one fire, but there are usually 5 other fires burning too. And you have to address all of them if you want lasting freedom. Now, if you want to understand the full picture, all the inflammation pathways that are triggering your migraines, make sure you watch my free training, The 3 Hidden Reasons Migraines Still Ruin Your Plans and How to Stop Them. The link's in the show notes. And if you are ready to figure out your specific inflammatory pathways, including whether mold is part of your picture, then book a free migraine breakthrough assessment. 45 minutes, we look at your body, your triggers, your inflammatory pathways, and we figure out what needs to happen first. That link is also in the show notes. All right, that's what we have for you today. Stop chasing single answers. Start healing the whole picture because you deserve to be migraine free.